Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon, Cougar Nation. Welcome into a Easter weekend edition of Cougar Sports Saturday. Matt Baiamonte and Mitch Harper joining you. Hope you've had a wonderful day today. I'm sure most people were out this morning doing family Easter egg hunts. Your kids do any Easter egg stuff this morning?
We will tomorrow.
Okay.
No, assuming tomorrow, but yes.
No city egg hunts, or have
It's
you
all
graduated
sports,
from that?
All sporting events for the kids today.
Fair.
Basketball, softball, flag football. So just busy, so we don't have any time.
Hey, speaking of busy, the world of BYU sports has been busy, Mitch. Yesterday was honestly a crazy day in the world of BYU sports. You got transfer portal news. There was a crazy softball comeback, men's volleyball. It's going to be a day I remember for a long time because there was just so much going on. But, Mitch, we got to start things off with the transfer portal. It absorbs our lives right now, and there was some big news yesterday of a current player in the portal.
The starting lineup. A look at the stories making headlines right now. It's time for the starting lineup on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Keelan Marion, he is going portaling. That's right, Keelan Marion, All-American kick returner and guy that was going to be a huge impact player at wide receiver this season. He is entering the transfer portal. It is a surprising move because, again, he was going to be someone that was going to be a big piece to BYU's offense in this season, for this 2025 season. In spring ball, Jake Retzloff was saying, Keelan was an All-American kick returner. Now we're going to make him an All-American at wide receiver. And huge expectations for a guy that they were calling Agent Uno. He had the number changed to number 1. Now he's going into the portal. Clearly that buzz that was coming out of Provo caught the antennas of other teams around the country because Keelan Marion is going into the portal.
There's so many tentacles to this story. And I think without sounding, like I've been eating sour grapes, I've just become insanely frustrated with the system that we have for college sports. And look, BYU has benefited from this recently, right?
Yes.
The polar opposite of this happened a week ago when they got Rob Wright out of the portal. He leaves Baylor. It was unexpected. BYU lands him, and everyone's jumping in the streets, dancing for joy because you have an ultra-talented point guard paired with A.J. DeBonsa, potentially Richie Saunders if he returns, and it looks like this basketball team has the makings to make a deep, deep run in the NCAA tournament. And then a week later, the opposite happens to you, where you're well after spring ball. That is in the distant past, and this window opens up, and multiple days go by. No one enters of significance. We'll get to the full list in a little bit. When I say significance, no one who was going to be relied upon to have a big role, Mitch. And then for Keelan Marion, yesterday afternoon to put your name in, it was shocking because he was the primary offensive weapon in spring football. They used him in, dare we say, the Puka Nacua role.
Yeah, he was. And you saw signs of that last November when his workload was increasing. The ASU game, the Houston game, the bowl game, Keelan Marion was getting utilized like Puka Nacua. It's crazy to say because you think, well, are you comparing him to Puka? No, we're not saying that, but they were utilizing him in many different ways on the ground, in the receiving game. He was going to be a huge weapon. And Keelan Marion took on a massive spotlight role in spring without Chase Roberts, who was banged up and recovering from injury. It was a chance for him to shine, and he did. And in those media observation periods in spring practice, Keelan Marion was outstanding. And to suddenly lose that, you go, man, that's a big blow. So it's a bummer for BYU. And you saw the players reacting on social media. Isaiah Jada had a sad emoji. Trey Alexander, a fellow Atlanta, Georgia native, He had the Will Smith Fresh Prince of Bel-Air gif where he's looking in the room, and I think it's the series finale one. He had that reaction. Guys like Pokai Hunga were reacting. John Moa. Sione Moa, excuse me. But they were all reacting because this was a little bit of a shock that they were not expecting.
And I like that you bring up Pokai because I spoke with him in spring football, and he particularly mentioned Keelan Marion as being a pivotal leader on the offensive side of the football. And that is tough to lose at the end of the spring period, which the spring period, it's up for debate how valuable it is. But one thing is clear. You get about 30 to 40 practices before you start playing games. A good chunk of those are in the spring. Mm-hmm. And a lot of focus was given to Keelan Marion on expanding that role. And if he does not return, because he hasn't announced a new school yet.
Yeah.
But
so there's always that there's their opportunity to come back.
And we need to get to that too. But it's not said and done that he's gone. But, when someone enters at this stage, it makes you wonder, did he get a late offer? And the money's too good to pass up. And so, another tentacle here is, how does this affect spring ball in terms of, do you even want to showcase anybody? Because if you roll Keelan Marion out, they didn't have to play him. Yeah. They could have just said, we're going straight development. We're going straight Tay Nakua and Don McKenzie and others, and you don't even play him. Is there even any buzz? Because Matt Rule talked about this. He's like, we're done with spring games. We don't want anyone to put any tape out there. Not that there's tape in this case.
BYU's creative team putting out a hype video in spring ball about Adrian Uno. And
right.
Kalani, the coaches were talking about him. If I was a coach, and look, as a media member, I don't want this to be the case, but I wouldn't highlight anyone. I wouldn't say anything about anyone because, these coaches around the country are monitoring every roster.
Yep.
And when you see someone that's an All-American kick returner, the best in the sport, now he's trending up as a receiver too. I like that. What can we do to get that guy? Oh, he's from the SEC, Atlanta, Georgia area. Maybe we could get this guy closer to home.
Yep, absolutely. And I think my biggest frustration here is not towards Keelan.
No.
Because Keelan Marion probably sees an opportunity here. And we have all been in those situations before. And it's hard to pass up. There's so much more to react to. So we'll continue reacting to this on the other side.